spiritual things that are amazing and they're positive and they're great, but they're empty without a plan. So I want to share this really great quote today that I actually got from the journal that I use, which is it's called the Self Journal by Best Self Co. You can grab one of those on Amazon. But this quote says this: working on the right thing is probably more important than working hard. Let me say that again. Working on the right thing is probably more important than working. How many times have we shared the after picture without sharing how long the journey was? This is something that if you are willing to fall on your face, you can do it. The question is, are you willing to get back up? My name is Josh, and I'm your push coach. I'm the #1 best-selling author of F Leadership, and for the last 6 years, I've helped over 40,000 entrepreneurs to take ownership of their businesses and create tangible results that have changed their businesses and lives forever. Let's dive in. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Your Push Coach. My name is Josh. I'm your push coach, and I've got part 2 for you today of getting set up to have the best year you've ever had in your entire life. If you missed last week's episode, make sure and go back and watch that because I shared some really, really, really important information on not ignoring January, but instead embracing it, okay? We do not need to pretend that January, so stupid, everyone sets big. It's funny because sometimes as coaches, we need that energy, but then we reject it for others. We need a fresh start. Guys, if you're human, you need a fresh start sometimes. That's just what it is, right? But then we will reject it for our clients, and we'll try to tell our clients, hey, guys, you don't need a New Year's goal. You need to stick to your plan, blah, blah, blah. And it's guys, stop fighting the energy of the entire world that's trying to help you right now, okay? So last week I talked about that. I talked about embracing the energy and also setting goals from an energetic space where you are dreaming big and where you are thinking big. That is your greatest self talking, okay? Don't ignore that version of you, okay? But today, in this episode, I want to talk to you a little bit about why so many people end up getting disappointed by setting these big goals. And I talked a little bit about last week how the first reason is they thought the goal was the goal. And the reality is the goal is not the goal. The goal is to grow. The goal is to expand. The goal is to evolve. And the only point of the goal is to set something big enough and scary enough that it forces us to finally learn some things we would have never learned otherwise, to focus on some things we would have never focused on otherwise. But the other thing is it forces us, it should, at least if we're doing it right, okay, it should force us to plan like we've never planned. Now, this is the part where people tend to miss it. People create these vision boards, they create new affirmations, and they create a lot of visual and you could even say spiritual things that are amazing and they're positive and they're great, but they're empty without a plan. So I want to share this really great quote today that I actually got from the journal that I use, which is it's called the Self Journal by Best Self Co. You can grab one of those on Amazon. But this quote says this: working on the right thing is probably more important than working hard. Let me say that again. Working on the right thing is probably more important than working hard. So here, I believe, is the next mistake people make. They get so excited, I'm going to go for this big, crazy goal. I'm going to go for, my first 6-figure year, or a lead, or superstar, platinum, diamond, emerald, whatever thingy majig. I'm going to go for this big goal. And then instead of actually going and mapping out what the most important things you could do to hit that goal are, you instead go this is the natural human tendency, is to say something like this: I'm going to work harder this year than I've ever worked before in my entire life to go make that happen. And this is actually why people end up missing their goals, not because the goal was wrong, but because they think the way to hit that goal is to go work harder than they've ever worked before. And so what they do, January 1 comes around, they set this big, huge goal, and they spend the entire month of January working harder than they've ever worked before in their entire life. And by the end of January, they're so burned out, they're so exhausted that they're like, Oh, yeah. This is why I lowered my goal last year, and you lower your goal. And so there's this quote that I got from a mentor that I'm actually going to adjust and shift for what we're talking about today. But basically, he said, never lower your goals, always increase your actions. Now, I'm going to fix that because I actually don't like that quote, okay? He said, never decrease your goal, always increase your actions. And here's what I would like to replace that with. Never decrease your goals, always increase the focus of your actions. In other words, I want to sit down and I want to evaluate, okay? A huge part of life coaching is asking questions that help people to evaluate themselves and their situations. I'm just fortunate enough that becoming a certified life coach, I started doing all this coaching to myself. And I started evaluating what are the things that work, what are the things that don't. Based on the progress that I've currently got, what would make sense to keep investing my time and energy in it? And I'll give you a really simple example, okay? When I'm running ads for like an upcoming launch, okay? So I talked about last week how we've got a webinar coming up, big, huge goals and strategy workshop on January 4th, 6:30 p.m. Central. You can register for that on my website at joshcoates.com. It's totally free. Comes with some bonus training inside a Facebook group. It's going to be amazing, okay? But when I'm running ads for that, here's what I do. I take 6 or 7 different graphics, okay? The graphic is usually kind of like the main thing that grabs people's attention. And I throw them up as ads for Facebook and Instagram, okay? And I will watch them for the first 2 to 3 days. And after 2 or 3 days, there's usually 2 or 3 graphics that really stand out as the top performers, while the other ones just aren't really performing the same. And sometimes they're like literally not performing at all. Other times they're just not performing as well. And so what I do is I will keep pumping money into the things that are working. So if there's a couple images that work really great, what I'll do is I'll go duplicate those into even more ad sets and take the images that originally worked and go try to reach more people with that ad, okay? And I'll cut off the ones that aren't working. Now, that is a really great example for what we should be doing with our time and energy. We should be reflecting that. Now, unfortunately, the rest of the world doesn't work quite as fast as Facebook ads. Facebook ads, I can use money to speed up the process of reaching more people to find out what the feedback is. Usually it takes more like a month or two with normal activities. But what most people do is they never even evaluate the activities that they are doing and how much they are working. I will take this survey all the time. I'll say I'll be on a live Zoom call with 30 or 40 people, and sometimes for my big workshops, as many as 1,000 people. And I will literally say, how many of you have spent like 2 to 3 hours a day for at least a year trying to grow your engagement on Instagram for it to only grow you by like maybe 10% or less? And almost every hand goes up, which tells me most people are not evaluating their time and energy spent. They're just copying what other people told them they should do, okay? You do not need to do what other people tell you to do. You need to collect information from people, put it into action, and see what the return on investment is. And if the return on investment is nothing, then you need to throw that crap away and look at a different strategy. And so this is such an important part of being an entrepreneur, is to know how to evaluate things, to know how to take a look at where am I spending the most time and energy, and is that actually bringing me more results? And sometimes we'll find these little things that are actually bringing some results that we're not putting much time and energy into because maybe it's not the trendy thing to do right now, because maybe people aren't encouraging us. So we're like, I don't know if I want to do that. No one is saying, who cares what everyone else is saying? Do the thing that's getting you the quickest results. Does that make sense? Now, obviously, with integrity, obviously, don't go against your values, okay? But I'm talking about like which action steps, like which things are bringing you the most results. So that's what I'm going to really be honing into in my training on January 4th, is I'm going to be teaching you how I go about eliminating the things in my business that don't make sense. A lot of people think that successful people work way harder than everyone. And the reality is successful people are the kind of people that are willing to cut off the things that don't work so they can work harder on the things that do work. Okay. So it's not like successful people work 14 hours a day. Now, some do because some are workaholics, but I don't want to be like them. Personally, that's just me. Maybe you do. And if you want to work 14 hours a day, you go right ahead. If that makes you happy, go for it. I won't judge you. I will just be ready as your life coach when you burn out in 6 months and need some serious help. Okay. But for me, I don't want to work 14 hours a day. What I want to do is work really hard for 3 or 4 hours a day on the things that actually move my business forward. And you know what? I don't think there's anyone listening to this that is against hard work. I think what we are against is working hard toward things that aren't really working and or working so hard that it exhausts you and keeps you from enjoying the rest of your life. But my goal is to work hard for the rest of my life, because when I say work hard, I'm not talking about detailing cars. I'm not talking about scrubbing cars until literally my knees and my elbows and my back hurt. What I'm talking about is doing work with intensity. Okay. When I'm recording a podcast, absolutely I'm working hard. I'm bringing intensity because I love this. When I'm writing an email, I'm working hard because I love writing emails. So yes, it is like an intense energy that I'm bringing. When you're doing the things you love, working hard is not the same as detailing cars, which is something that I hated and hurt me and caused pain. Now, of course, there are some boundaries to that, and we all have a certain amount of energy that we can give in a day. And to me, that's what I try to pay attention to. Okay. What is the energy I can give to this business without it taking from my family? And if I only have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of energy, how do I make sure I'm doing the right things to move my business forward with that time and energy that I'm willing to give? Okay. That's what I'm going to be teaching on. So if you are not registered for my free workshop, you guys, you really need to get registered for this. Okay. I am going to be teaching you some things that I'm just going to be real for a second. Not a lot of other people are teaching, because the reality is most people want you to either work really hard without giving you any clarity on what the hell to do, which just basically is going to wear you out and exhaust you. Or two, there's a going trend right now of trying to get everyone to stop working, to just sit around and journal and manifest, and everything will just show up because you want it to. And I love to use the analogy of like our body, because I believe that our body is one of the greatest examples of how this universe works. Okay. I want you to imagine waking up every morning. You do not change what you eat and you do not exercise, but you journal every single day that you're in the best shape of your life, in the absolute best shape of your life. You're fitting into your favorite jeans, or, whatever that means to you. And I want you to imagine for 6 months, you journal every single day that you're in the best shape of your life, but you don't do anything that is recommended to actually get in the best shape of your life. Does your body change? No. Now your mindset changes and you might become a lot happier with yourself, which I think is like a very important key. Okay. It's a very important ingredient. It's a very important foundation, but it doesn't actually end up getting you what you want. Okay. So there's a lot of like anti-hustle going on right now. I am not anti-hustle, but I'm also not hustle. I find this middle ground to be the safest place. And the middle ground is where I learn the lessons of hustle without taking them out of context and turning it into a workaholic. And I learn the elements of manifestation, and I make sure that I'm utilizing all of the spiritual abilities that I have. Okay. But I'm combining them into a middle ground where the magic happens. Okay. If that's what you want to learn how to do, join me January 4th, 6:30 p.m. Central. We're going to do this thing together. You and your team, all of your friends are invited. You can register at joshcoates.com on my homepage. We're going to be doing bonus giveaways inside the Facebook group. We're also going to be giving away $1,000 on the live training. So make sure you show up live if you can. If you can't, we'll shoot you the replay. All right, guys, I love you so much. I hope you're having an amazing holiday season, and I hope to see you live on my workshop January 4th. Have an amazing day, and I will see you soon, friends. This is something that if you are willing to fall on your face, you can do it. The question is, are you willing to get back up? My name is Josh, and I'm your push coach. I'm the #1 best-selling author of F Leadership, and for the last 6 years, I've helped over 40,000 entrepreneurs to take ownership of their businesses and create tangible results that have changed their businesses and lives forever. Let's dive in.